Hey, Mike here. I just wanted to let you know that you can listen to Dark Poutine early and ad-free on Amazon Music, included with Prime.
Welcome back to Dark Poutine. I am Mike Brown here in Langley, British Columbia. Lovely Langley.
And I'm recording from the Avro fighter jet up in the sky. I'm the one with the hidden one.
You're the one who's hidden it. Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, we'll get into that.
The views, information, and opinions expressed during the Dark Poutine podcast are solely those of the producer and do not necessarily represent those of Curious Cast, its affiliate, Global News, nor their parent company, Chorus Entertainment.
Dark Poutine is not for the faint of heart or squeamish. Listener discretion is strongly advised. We're not experts on the topics we present, nor are we journalists. We're two ordinary Canadian schmucks chatting about crime and the dark side of history. Let's get to it. Put on your toque, grab yourself a double and a Nanaimo bar. It's time to scarf down some Dark Poutine.
You are responsible for obtaining and maintaining at your own cost all equipment needed to listen to Dark Poutine. Dark Poutine can be addictive. Side effects may include, but not be limited to, pausing and questioning the system, elevated heart rate, pondering humanity, odd looks from colleagues as you laugh out loud at work, family members not into true crime worrying about you. Positive side effects may include some perspectives and opinions that you disagree with, as well as some wokeness and empathy. If you don't think Dark Poutine is for you, consult your doctor immediately.
On October 4th, 1957, as the world's eyes turned skyward to witness the launch of Sputnik 1, another technological marvel was about to be unveiled in a hangar in Malton, Ontario. The Avro Arrow, Canada's ambitious supersonic interceptor, was poised to revolutionize aviation. But within 2 years, it would vanish without a trace, leaving behind a legacy of controversy and conspiracy. This is Dark Poutine, episode 361, Avro Arrow, the rise and fall of Canada's dream fighter. In the aftermath of World War II, the global landscape shifted dramatically as two superpowers emerged from the rubble, the United States and the Soviet Union. Once allies against the Axis powers, these nations quickly found themselves locked in a tense ideological struggle defining the latter half of the 20th century. The Cold War, as it came to be known, was characterized by political, economic, and military rivalries that stretched across continents. Battlefields of Europe and Asia. The Soviet Union, emboldened by its wartime victories and driven by a desire to spread communism, began to flex its military might. Of particular concern to Western powers was the development of a Soviet nuclear bomb and long-range Soviet bombers capable of delivering their deadly payloads to targets across North America. The Arctic Circle, once a frozen wasteland of little strategic importance, suddenly became the front line of this new conflict. Military strategists realized that the shortest route for Soviet bombers to reach American soil would be a path across the top of the world, skirting the North Pole. This realization sent shockwaves through the defense establishments of both the US and Canada, spurring a frantic race to bolster Arctic defenses. In response to this perceived threat, a network of early warning radar stations began to sprout across the continent's northern reaches. The distant early warning line, or DEW line, stretched from Alaska to Greenland, forming an electronic tripwire to detect any incoming Soviet aircraft. However, we previously talked about the DEW line in episode 260, The Cold War in Canada, Spies, Bunkers, and Nukes, oh my! However, it was determined that radar alone could not counter this new menace from the skies.
I have not heard about the dew line for years.
Right.
We all knew about it in the 80s for some reason.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it was probably because Rush wrote that song, Distant Early Warning.
Oh, I didn't listen to Rush.
Of course you didn't. The powers that be determined that the need for a cutting-edge interceptor aircraft was paramount. It was in this climate of urgency and ambition that Avro Canada was born, destined to become a titan in the nation's aviation industry. At the helm of this burgeoning enterprise stood three visionaries whose names would become synonymous with one of the most ambitious projects in Canadian aviation history. Frederick Thomas Smyth, a Hamilton native with keen business acumen, took the reins as president of Avro Aircraft. Smyth's journey to this pivotal role began during the war when he served as an official in the Department of Munitions and Supply, eventually rising to director of aircraft production. Crawford Gordon Jr., a wartime leader in defense production under the legendary C.D. Howe, assumed the presidency of Avro in Canada in 1951. Gordon's appointment came at a critical junction as the company grappled with the challenges in developing the CF-100 Canuck fighter interceptor. His leadership would prove instrumental in steering Avro through its most ambitious and tumultuous years. Completing this triumvirate was James C. Floyd, the brilliant chief engineer whose innovative designs would push the boundaries of aerospace technology. Floyd's journey in aviation began at the tender age of 15 when he joined the Avro company in the UK as an apprentice. His expertise and vision would become the driving force behind Avro Canada's most groundbreaking projects. From humble beginnings with just 350 former Victory aircraft employees, Avro Canada embarked on a trajectory of explosive growth. The company's expansion was remarkable, swelling its ranks to over 14,000 employees by the late 1950s. This growth transformed Arrow into a dominant force in the Canadian aerospace industry, with ripple effects throughout the small town of Malton, Ontario, where the company was based. The impact of Avro's presence extended far beyond its factory walls. The influx of skilled workers and their families led to Malton's housing, infrastructure, and amenities boom. The once quiet town was rapidly evolving into a hub of innovation and industry, its fortunes inextricably linked to the soaring ambitions of Avro Canada.
Yeah, Malton is in Mississauga, which is a suburb of Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
I had to look it up because I'm like, where do I know Malton from? I'm like, oh yeah, it's that part of Mississauga.
There you go.
Yeah.
Have you ever been?
Yeah, I used to work in an office that was probably technically in Malton.
Okay. The United States and Canada recognized that their existing fighter planes were ill-equipped to deal with high-altitude, high-speed Soviet bombers. The race was on to develop aircraft that could climb rapidly, fly at supersonic speeds, and operate effectively in the harsh Arctic environment. In the United States, projects like the XF-103 and the YF-12 pushed the boundaries of aerospace technology, aiming to create interceptors capable of Mach 3+ speeds and extreme altitudes. Meanwhile, Canada, determined to assert its sovereignty and contribute meaningfully to continental defense, embarked on its own ambitious interceptor program. Canada sought to develop an aircraft that could meet the unique challenges of its geography and showcase the country's technological prowess on the world stage. Against this backdrop, a bold vision began to take shape in the offices of Avro Canada, a subsidiary of the British Hawker Siddeley Group. The company, which had already made a name for itself with the development of the CF-100 Canuck, Canada's first domestically designed and built jet fighter, set its sights on an even more ambitious project. The Avro CF-100 Canuck, nicknamed the Clunk, emerged as Canada's homegrown solution to the Cold War threat of Soviet bombers. As the only Canadian-designed fighter to enter mass production, the twin-engine, all-weather interceptor marked a significant milestone in the country's aerospace industry.
The Clunk is such a Canadian nickname. I've never heard it called that.
Yeah, it's like, well, the Clunk kind of sucked, so we're sort of taking the piss out of ourselves, I guess.
Absolutely.
I mean, if you look at pictures of the Clunk, it didn't have the prettiest lines for an aircraft. That said, it was effective. From its maiden flight in January 1950, the CF-100 quickly proved its worth. Its robust design allowed for effective operation in Canada's harsh northern conditions, boasting impressive high-altitude performance and long-range capabilities. Advanced radar and fire control systems enabled interception missions in all-weather conditions, day or night. The Canucks' development wasn't without challenges. Early prototypes faced landing gear and wing structural issues, while engine relocation caused significant engineering hurdles. These setbacks, however, were eventually overcome. The Canucks served with distinction in both NORAD and NATO, with 4 squadrons deployed to Europe. Its versatility extended to electronic warfare, reconnaissance, and training missions. Designed initially for a 2,000-hour service life, some airframes surprisingly lasted up to 20,000 hours. The aircraft had its quirks, including a peculiar cockpit instrument arrangement and cramped conditions for the navigator. An oddly placed compass led to a bent control column, often leaving pilots with a noticeable lean after long flights. From 1952 to 1981, the CF-100 defended Canadian skies and served as a platform for technological advancements. The Canucks' legacy inspired a generation of Canadian engineers and aviators, solidifying Canada's place in military history. Inspired by the Canucks' success, in 1953, Avro Canada's engineers, led by the brilliant James C. Floyd, began to conceptualize an aircraft that would push the boundaries of what was possible in interceptor design. Their goal was nothing less than to create the fastest and most advanced fighter plane in the world, one that could outperform anything in the Soviet arsenal and secure Canada's place at the forefront of aerospace technology. Avro Canada began developing the legendary and now mythical CF-105 Arrow. The ambitious design process for this supersonic interceptor was a testament to Canadian ingenuity and determination. Wind tunnel testing became a cornerstone of Arrow's development. Hundreds of hours were devoted to this meticulous process, with engineers scrutinizing every aspect of the aircraft's aerodynamics. The data gathered from these tests was invaluable in forming crucial design decisions and refinements. Avro Canada embraced the power of emerging computer technology in a move that some felt overly bold at the time. The Arrow became the first aircraft designed with digital computers for aerodynamic analysis and structural matrix design. This pioneering approach allowed for unprecedented precision in the aircraft's development, setting a new standard in aerospace engineering. The scale model experiments conducted during the Arrow's development were equally groundbreaking. 9 models, each 1/8 the size of the full-scale planes, were launched on rockets over Lake Ontario to gauge flight worthiness. 2 additional models were launched over the Atlantic Ocean, pushing the boundaries of testing methodologies. These experiments provided crucial data on the Arrow's performance at supersonic speeds, informing further refinements to the design. The Arrow's computerized flight control and weapon system was at the heart of its innovative design. This sophisticated system represented a quantum leap in aircraft technology, integrating navigation, weapons release, automatic search and track radar, data link inputs, and various other advanced features. Remember, this is the 1950s. The Arrow was designed to be the first aircraft with a fly-by-wire control system, replacing traditional mechanical controls with an electrical system that promised enhanced responsiveness and maneuverability. The Arrow's sleek delta wing design was not just a marvel of aesthetics, but a triumph of aerodynamic engineering. The aircraft's swept-back delta wings gave it a futuristic appearance while providing the necessary stability and performance for supersonic flight. The use of a dropped leading edge and aerodynamic twist on the wing further enhanced the Arrow's flight characteristics.
I have a drooped leading edge.
Oh dear, yes. We don't want to get into that. That's post-surgery, though.
Seriously, though, so much work went into this. A lot of leading edge thinking went into this at the time.
It's so much.
You're rhyming all this stuff off, and it's like, wow, so much work went into this. That was new thinking at the time.
Absolutely new thinking. This was all innovation and Canadian innovation as well.
Yeah.
As the design process progressed, the Arrow began to take shape as a marvel of modern aviation. Its long internal weapons bay was designed to accommodate specialized long-range standoff and cruise missiles, a feature that set it apart from its contemporaries. Integrating ground mapping radar and a radar altimeter with the flight control system allowed the Arrow to excel in interceptor and reconnaissance roles. This versatility was unheard of at the time. On October 4th, 1957, the first Avro Arrow was unveiled to the world, a day that would be etched in the annals of Canadian aviation history. The Malton Avro plant became the excitement epicenter of the reveal as 12,000 spectators gathered. The crowd included proud Avro employees, government officials, media reps, and aviation enthusiasts nationwide. Many in attendance, from engineers and technicians to assembly line workers, had played a part in the Arrow's creation. For them, this moment represented the culmination of years of hard work, innovation, and unwavering dedication. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd as the massive hangar doors slowly opened. There, bathed in the October sunlight, stood the CF-105 Arrow in all its glory. The aircraft's appearance was nothing short of breathtaking. Its swept-back delta wings gave it a sleek, futuristic silhouette that embodied the jet age's promise and potential. The Arrow's paint scheme was as striking as its design. The aircraft was adorned in a dazzling combination of white, matte black, and day-glow orange. This bold color palette enhanced Arrow's visual appeal and served practical purposes for visibility and testing. The white paint covering most of the airframe provided a clean canvas that accentuated the Arrow's elegant lines and curves. The strategically placed matte black sections created a striking contrast that highlighted key features of the aircraft's design. The day-glow orange, applied to specific areas such as the wingtips and tail, ensured high visibility during flight tests and potential emergency situations. As spectators circled the aircraft, taking in every detail, there was a palpable sense of pride and awe. The Arrow's size alone was impressive, with a wingspan of 50 feet and a length of 77. Its presence dominated the hangar, a physical manifestation of Canada's technological prowess and ambition.
You know, imagine being there, seeing it live for the first time. It would have been so futuristic looking.
Yeah.
I think it looks really cool now, but back then it would have been one of those mind-blown moments, right?
Totally. The unveiling ceremony featured speeches from key figures involved in the Arrow's development. Frederick Smyth, Crawford Gordon Jr., and James C. Floyd each took turns addressing the crowd, sharing insights into the aircraft's capabilities and the challenges overcome during its development. Their words were met with enthusiastic applause, the audience keenly aware that they were witnessing a pivotal moment in aviation history. As the day progressed, attendees were given the opportunity to look at the Arrow more closely. Engineers and technicians were on hand to explain various features of the aircraft, from its advanced avionics to its powerful Pratt & Whitney J75 engines. The atmosphere was electric, with excitement and speculation about the Arrow's potential performance and its implications for Canada's role in global aerospace. As the Avro Arrow project progressed from unveiling to flight testing, all eyes turned to the man who would pilot this groundbreaking aircraft on its maiden voyage. Janusz Zurakowski, affectionately known as Jan. Zurakowski brought a wealth of experience and an unparalleled reputation to his role as Arrow's chief test pilot. Born in Russia in 1914 and raised in Poland, Zurakowski's passion for aviation began early. As a youth, he won a national competition for building model airplanes, earning his first flight as a prize. This early experience kindled a lifelong love affair with flight that would lead him to become one of the most respected test pilots of his era. Zurakowski's wartime experiences had honed his skills as a pilot and strategist. During World War II, he served with distinction in the Polish Air Force and later with the Royal Air Force. His combat record was impressive, including shooting down 3 German aircraft in a single day during the Battle of Britain. These experiences showcased his flying abilities and his cool demeanor under pressure, qualities that would prove invaluable to his role as a test pilot. In the post-war years, Zurakowski's reputation as an aerobatic pilot grew to legendary proportions. His performances at air shows across Europe and North America left spectators and fellow pilots in awe. He was known for pushing aircraft to their limits and executing maneuvers that seemed to defy the laws of physics. This combination of combat experience and aerobatic expertise made Zurikowski the ideal candidate to take the controls of the Avro Arrow for its crucial first flight. On March 25, 1958, the day of Arrow's maiden voyage arrived. The atmosphere at the Avro plant was tense with anticipation. Engineers, technicians, and executives gathered to witness the culmination of years of work and millions of dollars in investment. As Zurikowski climbed into the cockpit, everyone felt the weight of expectation. This had to go off without a hitch. Canada's future in the aerospace industry was at stake. The first flight was meticulously planned to last 35 minutes, during which Zurikowski would put the Arrow through a series of basic maneuvers to test its handling and characteristics. Onlookers held their breath as the powerful engines roared to life and the Arrow began to taxi. The takeoff was smooth and the Arrow climbed gracefully into the clear spring sky. For the next half hour, Zurikowski put the aircraft through its paces, checking the responsive controls, engines, undercarriage, and air brakes. He tested the Arrow's handling qualities at up to 400 knots and evaluated its low-speed performance in a landing configuration. Throughout the flight, telemetry data streamed back to engineers on the ground, providing real-time information on the aircraft's performance. As the Arrow touched down after its flawless 35-minute flight, relief and excitement swept through the crowd. Zurikowski, ever the professional, emerged from the cockpit with a characteristically understated reaction. When asked about the Arrow's performance, he stated, "It's a beauty." This succinct assessment, coming from a pilot of Zurikowski's caliber, spoke volumes about Arrow's potential. Following its successful maiden flight, the Avro Arrow quickly began to demonstrate the full extent of its capabilities. Each subsequent test flight pushed the envelope further, revealing an aircraft that lived up to and in many cases exceeded its ambitious design specifications. One of the most significant milestones came early in the testing program when the Arrow broke the sound barrier. This achievement, coming on only the aircraft's third flight, was a testament to Arrow's advanced aerodynamics and powerful engines. The ease with which the aircraft transitioned to supersonic flight impressed even the most seasoned test pilots and engineers.
You know, I've flown twice the speed of sound.
Oh, have you?
Yes.
Did you fly the Concorde?
I flew the Concorde, yeah.
Oh, wow. What was that experience like?
Fast.
Yeah, fast. Do you feel it when it breaks the sound barrier?
No, there's a little clock that you can look up at, and it shows you how fast you're going.
Mm-hmm.
And they did an announcement, hey, we're just about to enter Mach 1 sort of thing. But I couldn't feel or hear anything when we did it. I guess because we're going faster than sound.
That's fun. As testing continued, the Arrow consistently achieved higher speeds and altitudes. The aircraft's performance was remarkable, with test flights reaching speeds of Mach 1.98, nearly twice the speed of sound. This achievement placed the Arrow in an elite class of aircraft, surpassing the capabilities of many contemporary fighters. The Arrow's high-altitude performance was equally impressive. The aircraft demonstrated the ability to operate effectively at altitudes of up to 50,000 feet, potentially reaching even greater heights. This capability was crucial for its intended role as an interceptor, allowing it to engage potential threats at extreme altitudes. Perhaps the most exciting were the expectations for even greater performance once the Arrow was fitted with its intended Orenda Iroquois engines. These Canadian-designed power plants promised to push the Arrow's capabilities even further, with projections suggesting the aircraft could potentially exceed Mach 2 and reach altitudes of 70,000 feet or more. The Arrow's successes extended beyond raw speed and altitude figures. Its advanced fly-by-wire control system, a first for a production aircraft, proved highly effective, providing precise control and enhancing the Arrow's maneuverability. The integrated weapons and avionics systems performed admirably, showcasing the aircraft's potential as a formidable interceptor. As news of the Arrow's achievements spread, interest from foreign governments began to grow, a rare occurrence for a Canadian-designed military aircraft. This international attention further validated Arrow's advanced capabilities and hinted at its potential for export success. Yet dark clouds were gathering on the horizon as Arrow soared to new heights and captured the imagination of aviation enthusiasts worldwide. The project's escalating costs were causing concern in government circles, and shifts in military strategy were beginning to call into question the need for a dedicated interceptor aircraft. As 1958 drew to a close, the future of the Avro Arrow hung in the balance. The aircraft had proven its worth in the skies, shattering records and pushing the boundaries of aviation technology. But would these remarkable achievements be enough to secure its future? As many of you are aware, the answer is no. More after a quick break. And we are back. Matthew, thoughts?
I'm going to get into this a little bit more later, but it makes me really sad of what happened to this. There was some decisions that were so short-termist.
Yeah.
That Canada could have been placed in a much different place in terms of technological development if they didn't make some of the decisions they made on this thing.
Yep, I agree, and I do get into that later on. The Avro Arrow's initial success was a source of immense pride for Canada. Its sleek design and groundbreaking capabilities catapulted the nation into the upper echelons of aerospace innovation. However, as the project progressed, storm clouds began to gather on the horizon. Growing concerns about its costs increasingly overshadowed Arrow's triumphs. Each jet came with a staggering price of $6 million, equivalent to $63 million in today's currency. This astronomical figure at the time raised eyebrows in political circles, notably as Cold War tensions shifted and evolved.
Yeah, I think what's interesting about that is even at today's money, $63 million for like a fighter like this, it's still like, this is national defense, right?
Yeah.
And if you're raising eyebrows because of that, it actually, it was a lot, but it's not that much when it comes to this sort of thing. And if you keep it going, you get economies of scale, you start selling, there's some upfront investment in this stuff that has to happen before you keep going.
Yeah, like you said, it was so short-sighted.
It's so short-sighted. And I when I first saw the title of this episode, I'm like, but I got really upset about the whole thing.
Yep. I mean, nobody dies except the Avro Arrow in this.
No, but it's still like, it's a sad story for me, right? And for Canada.
The financial burden of the Arrow program extended beyond its direct costs. Funds were diverted from other military initiatives to support the ambitious project. This reallocation of resources created friction within the armed forces, with senior Army and Navy officials questioning the program as early as 1953. The concentration of funds in the Air Force's coffers left other branches feeling shortchanged and under-equipped. As the 1950s progressed, the political landscape in Canada underwent significant changes. In 1957, the Liberal government that had initially championed the Arrow project was replaced by John Diefenbaker's Progressive Conservatives. This power shift brought new priorities and a more critical eye toward the nation's defense spending. Diefenbaker's government found itself caught between competing pressures. On one hand, there was a strong desire to assert Canada's technological prowess and maintain its newly established position in the global aerospace industry. On the other hand, there were mounting concerns about the project's sustainability and impact on the overall defense budget. The Arrow supporters argued that the aircraft's advanced capabilities justified its high cost. They pointed to its potential to secure Canada's airspace and contribute to the broader Western alliance. However, critics countered that the program was draining resources from other vital areas of national defense and that the changing nature of warfare might render the Arrow obsolete before it could be fully deployed. As debates raged in Ottawa, the Avro team continued their work, pushing the boundaries of what was possible in aircraft design. Yet with each passing month, the project's political tensions intensified, casting an ever-lengthening shadow over the Arrow's future. As political tension simmered, a seismic shift was occurring in the realm of military strategy. The late 1950s marked a pivotal moment in the evolution of warfare, one that would have profound implications for the Avro Arrow and similar interceptor aircraft programs worldwide. The primary threat that had driven the development of the Arrow, the specter of Soviet long-range bombers approaching North American airspace, was rapidly being eclipsed by a new and more terrifying danger. The rise of intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs, was reshaping the landscape of global security. ICBMs represented a paradigm shift in warfare. These missiles could be launched from deep within enemy territory, traverse continents in minutes, and deliver devastating payloads with unprecedented speed and accuracy. The traditional concept of air defense, which relied on intercepting enemy aircraft, suddenly seemed antiquated in the face of this new threat. This strategic shift was not lost on military planners and politicians. The United States, Canada's powerful southern neighbor and key ally, was already pivoting its defense strategy to address the ICBM threat. The emphasis was moving away from conventional bombers and toward the development of missile defense systems and a strategy of nuclear deterrence. In this new reality, the role of interceptor aircraft like the Arrow became less clear. While still valuable for specific scenarios, their ability to counter the most pressing threats of the day was increasingly called into question. The Arrow, designed to excel in high-altitude interception of bomber aircraft, found itself in a world where the enemy might never need to send a plane across the Arctic. Also, the formation of the North American Aerospace Defense Command, NORAD, in 1958 further complicated matters for the Arrow program. This joint U.S.-Canadian organization was tasked with defending North American airspace, and its creation raised questions about the need for separate national interceptor programs. The changing landscape extended beyond military considerations. Technological advancements were occurring rapidly, and there were concerns that by the time the Arrow entered full service, it might be outpaced by newer innovations. The aerospace world was evolving quickly, and what seemed cutting edge one year could become obsolete the next.
And Canada should have held steady. So joint programs are great and important, but developing your own technology in your defense systems is important, right? Because you can't always rely on, and we're seeing that now, you can't always rely on these partnerships. And I've always felt that we've underfunded this sort of military spending in Canada.
Technological spending.
A lot of technological spending comes out of military spending, right? Mm-hmm. And, it's not just for the defense systems themselves, but it's for building the technologies that can be applied to so many other industries.
Yeah.
It's great, I think maybe it's been too much of Canada. Canadians tend to be, hey, let's be good partners in doing something, right? And I think at this level of national defense, stuff like that, every country has to do their own thing.
We've got to learn to be a little more self-reliant on a lot of different things. That is very obvious now.
At one point, there were more submarines in the west of Edmonton Mall than there were in the Canadian Navy.
Right. Dear. As these shifts in strategy and technology unfolded, the Arrow supporters found themselves fighting an increasingly uphill battle. They argued that the aircraft's advanced design made it adaptable to changing threats and it could be modified to take on new roles. However, these arguments were met with growing skepticism in the corridors of power, where budgets were tight and priorities were shifting. Once seen as the vanguard of Canada's aerospace future, the Arrow was now caught in a rapidly changing world. As 1959 dawned, the project's fate hung in the balance, with forces within and beyond Canada's borders pushing toward a decision that would send shockwaves through the nation's aviation industry. February 20th, 1959, that would come to be known as Black Friday in Canadian aviation history, dawned like any other winter day in Ottawa, but by its end, the landscape of Canada's aerospace industry would be irrevocably altered. In a move that stunned many across the nation, Prime Minister John Diefenbaker stood before the House of Commons and announced the immediate cancellation of the Avro Arrow program. The decision, delivered with a mix of regret and resolve, cited changing global threats and escalating costs as the primary reasons for this drastic action. The announcement came as a thunderbolt from the blue for many, including Avro's management, where there had been rumors and concerns about the project's future. Few were prepared for such a sudden and definitive end. The company had been gearing up for a crucial review in March, with plans to showcase the Arrow's latest achievements and potential. Instead, they found themselves facing the immediate termination of their flagship project. The impact of the cancellation was immediate and devastating. In one fell swoop, 14,528 Avro employees were out of work. These were not just assembly line workers, but some of the brightest minds in Canadian engineering and aerospace design. Scientists, technicians, and skilled craftsmen who had poured their expertise and passion into the Arrow project suddenly faced an uncertain future. An estimated 15,000 additional jobs in the supply chain were also affected. Small businesses and specialized manufacturers that had built their operations around supporting the Arrow program now faced the prospect of closure. The economic impact was felt across Ontario and beyond as communities grappled with the sudden loss of a significant industry. The human toll of Black Friday was immense. Families had built their lives around stable, well-paying jobs in the aerospace sector and now faced financial uncertainty. A sense of betrayal and loss replaced the pride of working on a cutting-edge national project. For many, the cancellation of the Arrow represented not just the end of a job, but the shattering of a dream. In the hours and days following the announcement, scenes of disbelief and despair played out across Avro's facilities. Workers gathered in groups trying to make sense of the sudden turn of events. Some clung to hope that the decision might be reversed, while others immediately began the grim task of looking for new employment. The media descended on Malton, Ontario, capturing images of shell-shocked employees leaving the Avro plant for the last time. These pictures would become iconic representations of Black Friday, symbolizing the human cost of political decisions and shifting national priorities. Jim Floyd, the famed Avro engineer, recalled the abrupt nature of the announcement. Quote, "We were just working and they put it over the loudspeaker. Everybody as from now was laid off," he said, describing the moment when the entire workforce learned of their fate simultaneously. Bill Zuck, an aviation historian who has extensively researched the Arrow, noted visible distress among the workers. Quote, "People's hearts fell out. I'm sure there was some crying," he said. However, Zuck also pointed out that the news wasn't entirely unexpected, adding, quote, "It wasn't exactly a surprise, though. There had been rumors for months." End quote. John Grisdale, a former Avro employee who later became involved in preserving the Arrow's history, described the scene. Quote, "We were in shock. I could see it in their eyes. Many of the boys had got themselves into debt. It really got to me. I tried to get them all jobs." End quote. As news of the cancellation spread, debates raged across the country. Supporters of the Arrow decried the decision as short-sighted, arguing that Canada was sacrificing its place at the forefront of aerospace technology. Critics countered that the program had become too costly and that the changing nature of global threats necessitated a different approach to national defense.
Sure, but it's very short-sighted, and I'm really surprised that it was a conservative government that did this as well.
It's tough to justify the cost of a $6 million or $63 million airplane to a farmer in Saskatchewan. It's really difficult to do.
So you won't be on a communal farm when Russia attacks. That's what you would have said in the 50s.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, I guess so. But some people think there were darker forces at work. Anyway, amid this national conversation, the employees of Avro and its associated industries faced rebuilding their lives and careers. Many would eventually find work in other sectors or with American aerospace companies, leading to what some called a brain drain as Canadian talent moved south of the border. Black Friday marked not just the end of the Avro Arrow, but a turning point in Canadian industrial and military policy. Its repercussions would be felt for decades to come, shaping debates about national autonomy, technological innovation, and the role of government in supporting key industries. A series of events unfolded in the wake of Arrow's cancellation, fueling decades of speculation and controversy. Within 2 months of the project's termination, the Canadian government issued a shocking order. All aircraft, engines, production tooling, and technical data related to the Arrow and its Iroquois engine were to be destroyed. The destruction order was unprecedented in its scope and finality. Completed Arrows, partially assembled airframes, engines in various stages of completion, and even the specialized tools used in their manufacture were systematically dismantled and scrapped. Blueprints, technical manuals, and years of research data were consigned to the incinerator. The official reason for this drastic action was the need to protect classified and secret materials used in the Arrow and Iroquois programs. There were concerns later partially corroborated by the Mitrokin archives that Soviet spies might have infiltrated Avro. In the paranoid climate of the Cold War, the complete eradication of the project was seen as the only way to safeguard its advanced technology.
But they're not. That doesn't hold water, and they're not safeguarding it. They're destroying it.
Yeah.
You know, this is intellectual property or advancement that could be used in so many other ways. I kind of also don't like that they use the First Nation Iroquois as the name of a program.
Yeah.
That's kind of a little bit like,
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, I just had to throw that in because it bothered me.
But throwing away all this tech and the innovation and the ideas even.
It's just stupid. It's stupidity.
It's like burning Nikola Tesla's notebook.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you don't like what he's been up to and he's challenging you, Thomas Edison, but at the same time, he's got some really great ideas that maybe we should have another look at.
Ridiculous.
The explanations of cost overruns and alleged Soviet infiltration did little to quell the sense of loss and outrage felt by many Canadians. Some saw the destruction of the Arrows as an act of cultural vandalism, erasing a proud achievement of Canadian engineering. Conspiracy theories began circulating, suggesting various hidden motives behind the government's actions. Some believe the United States pressured Canada to cancel the Arrow to eliminate competition in aerospace technology and secure Canadian reliance on American defense systems like the Bullmark missile. One theory suggests that Prime Minister John Diefenbaker's personal dislike for Avro Canada President Crawford Gordon influenced the decision. Their clashing personalities and political tensions may have played a role. Critics argue that the government exaggerated the costs of continuing the project to justify its cancellation. Others claim foreign buyers were deliberately discouraged from purchasing the Arrow, further undermining its viability. Amid this atmosphere of secrecy and destruction, a tantalizing rumor took root. It was whispered that Air Marshal W.A. Curtis, a World War I ace working at Avro, had defied the government's order and spirited away one of the Arrows to save it for posterity. This rumor gained credence in 1968 when Curtis was directly asked about it in an interview. Curtis's response was cryptic and intriguing. He replied, quote, "I don't want to answer that," before questioning the wisdom of revealing such information even 9 years after the fact. He added, quote, "If it is in existence, it may have to wait another 10 years. Politically, it may cause a lot of trouble," end quote. The idea of a surviving Arrow captured the public imagination. It became a modern Canadian myth, a story of defiance against short-sighted bureaucracy and a symbol of hope that not all had been lost. Over the years, various theories have been proposed about the location of this hypothetical surviving Arrow, ranging from secret underground hangars to remote lake bottoms. While no concrete evidence has ever emerged to support the existence of a hidden Arrow, it's still fun for many, including myself, to ponder. Maybe there's one out there. Of course, over the years, questions have been raised about the wisdom of obliterating years of research and development. Critics argued that even if the Arrow itself was deemed unnecessary, the technological advancements made during its creation would have been applied to other fields or preserved for future projects.
There you go. It's not just hindsight from us. People were saying it then.
Yep.
Yeah.
The thorough nature of the destruction meant that when interest in the Arrow revived in later years, researchers and aviation enthusiasts had to rely mainly on personal recollections and scattered surviving documents to piece together the aircraft's story. This loss of primary sources has only added to the Arrow's mystique and fueled ongoing debates of what might have been. The destruction and conspiracy theories, transformed the aircraft from merely a cancelled project into a symbol of lost potential and a focal point for discussions about national pride, political decision-making, and the preservation of technological heritage. The cancellation of the Avro Arrow program reverberated through Canadian society, leaving a trail of consequences that would shape the nation's aerospace industry and defense policy for decades to come. The most immediate and visible impact was the dissolution of Avro Aircraft Limited Canada. This company, which had grown to become a cornerstone of Canadian aerospace innovation, found itself flailing without a flagship project. In 1962, barely 3 years after the Arrow's cancellation, Hawker Siddeley dissolved Avro Canada and transferred all its assets to a newly formed subsidiary, Hawker Siddeley Canada. The company that had once employed thousands and stood at the forefront of aerospace technology was now relegated to the pages of history. The vast facilities in Malton, Ontario, which had once hummed with the activity of cutting-edge aircraft production, fell silent. In the vacuum left by Arrow's cancellation, Canada turned to foreign sources to meet its air defense needs. The government acquired American-made McConnell CF-101 Voodoo aircraft to serve as its interceptors. This decision was seen by many as a step backward, replacing a homegrown state-of-the-art design with an older, less advanced foreign aircraft.
There is blood on my wall right now from banging my head against it.
Yeah.
This is all so ridiculous.
It is. It doesn't make any good sense. In hindsight, it doesn't make any good sense. And to a lot of people then, it didn't make good sense.
Yeah.
While capable in its own right, the CF-101 Voodoo symbolized for many the lost opportunity represented by the Arrow. It served as a constant reminder of what might have been had Canada continued to pursue its own aerospace designs. The Voodoos would serve in the Royal Canadian Air Force and later the Canadian Forces until 1984, bridging the gap until the arrival of more modern fighters. I recall seeing a CF-101 Voodoo firsthand as a youngster when the Air Force flew over downtown Bridgewater. I don't remember why they were there, but I do recall being stunned by their sound and sheer power, watching the jet engines glow as the plane pulled up deftly into the sky over the town's old tavern. The loss of the Arrow project also impacted Canada's broader technological capabilities. The aircraft had pushed the boundaries in areas such as computer-aided design, material science, and electronics. Canada's position at the cutting edge of these fields was diminished without a project of similar ambition to drive innovation. The aftermath of Arrow's cancellation saw a shift in Canada's approach to military procurement and industrial policy. The experience led to a more cautious approach to large-scale, high-risk projects. Future governments would be more inclined to pursue collaborative international projects to purchase off-the-shelf solutions rather than developing entirely new designs domestically.
We've become little bitches to everybody else. So GDP. You know how to make GDP really strong if you look at countries with high GDP?
Yeah.
This sort of technology.
Right.
And it's smart GDP.
Yeah, because it's sustainable. It's
future.
Yeah. While companies like Bombardier would later succeed in civilian aviation, Canada's role in military aircraft development was significantly reduced. The country that had once aimed to produce the world's most advanced interceptor now found itself primarily as a component supplier and maintenance provider for foreign-designed aircraft. The end of the Arrow program also led to soul-searching about Canada's place in the world and its relationship with its powerful southern neighbor. Some saw the decision to cancel the project and adopt American aircraft as a surrender of Canadian sovereignty and technological independence. We're at that point in history right now where we have to look at this again. We are currently reconsidering F-35 purchases from our neighbor to the south after they've declared a trade war on us. So we're looking at other options. Perhaps a decision will be made by the time this episode drops, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we can make our own suddenly. I'd love the program of making some stuff ourselves.
Yeah.
But I'd be more comfortable buying it from the French.
From the Français. In the years following the Arrow's cancellation, debates continued about the wisdom of the decision. As global threats evolved and military technology advanced, periodic reassessments of whether Canada had made the right choice occurred. These discussions often intersected with the broader questions about national identity, industrial policy, and the country's role in international affairs. Despite its brief existence, the Avro Arrow left an indelible mark on culture and national identity. In the decades following its cancellation, the aircraft transcended its role as a military project to become a powerful symbol of Canadian ingenuity, ambition, and the complex relationship between technology, politics, and national pride.
I'm sad.
Yeah, I wish we had done better in this situation.
Yeah.
I really do.
We hoisted ourselves on our own petard.
Yes, we did. What a shame. The Arrow's legacy is perhaps most visible in popular culture. The story of its development, cancellation, and destruction has been the subject of many books, both fiction and nonfiction. Authors have explored every aspect of the Arrow saga, from technical histories to political thrillers based on the project's demise. These works have kept the Arrow's story alive in the public consciousness, introducing new generations to this chapter of Canadian history. Television has also played a significant role in perpetuating the Arrow's legacy. Documentaries have delved into the aircraft's technical achievements, the political circumstances surrounding its cancellation, and the personal stories of those involved in its creation. In 1997, the CBC aired a big-budget miniseries titled The Arrow, starring Dan Aykroyd. This production brought the story to a broader audience, further cementing the Arrow's place in Canadian cultural memory. I would love to see a big screen adaptation of the Arrow story one day. Maybe. We'll see. It'll make a great movie. A former Royal Air Force pilot turned journalist, Bill Gunston, wrote over 350 books and articles on aircraft and aviation throughout his career. Gunston's expertise and meticulous research made him a trusted voice in aviation circles. His ability to communicate complex technical details in an accessible manner has inspired a generation of aviation enthusiasts. About the Avro Arrow, Gunston offered this assessment, quote, "In its planning, design, and flight test program, this fighter, in almost every way the most advanced of all fighters of the 1950s, was as impressive and successful as any aircraft in history." End quote. Had the Avro Arrow succeeded, our country's political and military legacy might have differed greatly. We'll never know for sure. That's it for episode 361, Avro Arrow, the Rise and Fall of Canada's Dream Fighter.
That's right. It's time for voicemails. You can leave us a message at 1-877-327-5786 or 1-877-DARK-PTN. We'd love to hear from you. Let's see who called us this week.
Okay, let's listen to some voicemails. Here's our first one, Matthew.
Hi, Mike and Matthew. It's Lois calling from southeastern Alberta, just down the road from Dinosaur Provincial Park. I heard one of you say that you visited the Tyrrell Museum some time ago, and I wonder why you stopped there and didn't come all the way out to the park to see where the fossils came from. So come and visit us again sometime. I've been listening for a couple of years now, and it took me a while to work my way through the entire back catalog, and I have to say it's been fascinating to watch the show develop and improve over the years. Matthew, you are the winningest of all the co-hosts. So sorry to hear about your health struggles. We're trusting for your healing, and Mike, in the loss of your dad, sincerest condolences. I have some really wacky connections to the show. I grew up in London, Ontario. We had friends in Strathroy, so we spent a lot of time there as kids. And one of the early episodes I listened to was your one on the Donnellys, and that was a story that figured prominently in my childhood. So I really appreciated your approach to that one. Now, I'd love to send you some donut money, but I don't participate in the dark magic of e-transfers. And given your subject matter, I'm amazed that you do not have a post office box. Seems like it might be very apropos. My only complaint is that you only crank out one episode a week, and it's a long time between drinks, so to speak. So appreciate your work, fellas, and I invite you to take a boom boom in your beret. Bye for now.
Thanks, Lois.
Boom, boom.
Last episode we had somebody still in London, but I love that she knows Strathroy, and I want to go to the Alberta Dinosaur Provincial Park so badly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. Like, I've been to the museum, but I haven't been to the park. Yeah,
I would love to go there. It's just dinosaur bones. Cool, right?
Yeah, it is cool. maybe we.
It doesn't matter how old you are; you're still a kid.
Maybe we should go for a drive in the summer, Matthew.
Well, we're going to do London, Ontario as well. So
yeah, maybe we should drive across the country. Oh, yeah. You don't want to be stuck in a car with me farting for an entire nation.
That's how you break the sound barrier.
Yes, exactly. Oh, dear. Okay, so what do you think Lois does there in Alberta, Matthew?
Oh, Lois has one of those little paint brushes, and she wipes away the soil and finds the dinosaur bones.
Oh, there you go. So she does a bit of paleontology there.
Is that what it is? I thought it was paintbrusher of dinosaur bones.
Sure. So let's call it that. She's a dinosaur bone paintbrusher.
There you go.
Great stuff. Thank you, Lois. Yeah. Holy smokes. We have another. Here we go.
Hi, Mike and Matt. This is Lane. I'm not going to tell you where I'm from or what I do because I'd appreciate it if you guess. But I was just calling because I was just listening to your episode, The Unsolved Murder of, I'm going to mess this up even though I just listened to it, Reet Jerviston. And I was listening to Matt's comment about how to look up the Joyce Parker worst sketch ever, and I automatically already knew which sketch it was going to be when he started talking about it, and he talked about the pointy chin, and I still looked it up anyways because I needed to make sure I was right. So I did, and I was correct, and I was just wondering if you guys ever saw the one news report where they're like, oh, yeah, we actually have a sketch of the guy in. And when they pulled it up, the broadcaster just looked at the cameraman, not sure if it was a joke or not. And then before they moved on to the next segment, they're like, oh, we actually caught the guy, showed his mug shot. And the broadcaster goes, no doubt from that fantastic sketch. So I thought that was funny. I enjoyed that broadcast. I'll watch it anytime it pops up on my feed on Instagram. So I was just wondering if you guys had seen that too. And I also wanted to add, Matt, that you remind me of my uncle's husband. And they've both passed at this point due to health problems, but that is a compliment. I liked Frank a lot. Frank, I was actually a lot closer to him than I was my uncle. Nothing against my uncle. We just didn't have all that much in common. Well, thanks. Have a good day.
Aren't gunkles the best?
Gunkles, yeah. I didn't have a gunkle. My friend Scott Seelig had a gunkle, Leo.
Lane, did you say her name was Lane?
Yep.
So Lane, my nephew has stated to me that he prefers Uncle Juice. He calls him Uncle Justin Juice, even though I'm his blood uncle.
So, really?
Yeah.
Uncle Juice is more interesting.
Uncle Juice taught him how to play Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that. So Uncle Juice geeks out with him on game stuff. And Uncle Matt, as he calls me, just provides the sustenance and the meals. But,
there you go.
But Lane, so I think Lane is a... well,
where does Lane live first?
Lane lives in Ontario.
Okay.
In Goderich, Ontario.
Okay, Goderich, Ontario. Okay.
Goderich, Ontario, the prettiest town in Canada.
Well, that's what they say, yeah.
I think the Queen said that, actually.
Well, that's nice of her. Has she been anywhere else?
Oh, yeah. Do you know the Queen visited Canada?
I'm kidding.
Did you? No, but fun fact, the Queen visited Canada privately, something like 40 times over her lifetime.
Yeah.
Right? And I think she's a professional merge coach.
Oh, teaching people how to merge in traffic?
Yeah, I'm just playing with her name, Lane.
Okay. Merge into a different lane.
Lane is actually a cool name. So I want Lane to call back and tell us if that's short for something or if it's just Lane. It's cool.
Cool. Well, thank you, Lane. That's it for this week's voicemails. Again, you can leave us one at 1-877-327-5786 or 1-877-DARK-PTN. We'd love to hear from you, even if it is just to say hi and to tell us to go shit in our hats. If you're stumped for what to chat with us about, a quick story is welcome. We don't have any new patrons or donut money donors, but that's okay. We know you love us anyway. Keep on trucking all you good eggs. Thanks to all our patrons and donut money donors past and present for your generosity. It helps to keep the show going. You can become a patron of Dark Poutine at patreon.com/darkpoutine. For a one-time donation, you can send us donut money via PayPal or Interac using our email address, darkpoutinepodcast@gmail.com. If you don't already subscribe to the show, it would mean a lot if you did. You can easily find Dark Poutine on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows. If you haven't gotten yours yet, my 2 books are available to order via links on the Dark Poutine website or anywhere fine books are sold. And speaking of darkpoutine.com, check it out for show notes and other cool stuff. We'd appreciate it if you gave Dark Poutine a like or a follow on Facebook and Instagram. Most importantly, thank you for listening. Tell your friends about us. Word of mouth is a powerful thing. So until next time, elbows up, Canada, and don't forget to be a good egg and not a bad apple.
Not a bad yablika.
Yes.